Oh, now you're complaining about it. Yeah, you probably should do it.
She thinks us.
I've never heard that wrong.
Okay. On this side. Oh, thank you. Okay, Joe. I just plug it in.
Good afternoon, everyone. We'll call the Human Services Committee to order. Start with courtesy of the floor. Anybody like to address committee?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Executive.
may I be
Yes.
recognized, sir? Thank you, sir. Every day in Northampton County, children at risk of child abuse and neglect have been removed from their homes due to such abuse and neglect. Northampton County recognized the risks and the need to protect the children of the county. The challenging task of investigating child abuse, providing services to families, assessing safety, and providing services to ensure that Northampton County's children are provided with nurturance, family connections, support as they transition into adulthood, and services that allow children to remain safely in their home or return home as expeditiously as possible falls to the child welfare professionals of the child welfare system. The work of the child welfare professionals may require them to enter into situations which their personal safety may be put at risk. Child welfare professionals work in difficult and emotional situations with children who have been victimized by physical abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, and other forms of maltreatment. Child welfare professionals must develop great skill in working with families who are in crisis situations, struggling with mental health challenges, suffering from drug and alcohol afflictions, poverty, and other difficult issues. Child welfare professionals must develop substantial knowledge and skills surrounding the rights of families, the laws surrounding child welfare, how to develop culturally sensitive services, and the legal processes governing the system. Child welfare professionals selflessly undertake the endeavor to protect Northampton County's children, often with low pay, long hours, tremendous demands, little appreciation, great criticism, and with dramatic impacts to their personal life. Every year, child welfare professionals are injured or killed in their pursuit to protect children across the United States. Workforce challenges have created tremendous challenges in the field of child welfare. Innumerable injuries and deaths of children in Northampton County have been averted due to the efforts of Northampton County children, youth, and families. Now, therefore, I, Lamont McClure, Northampton County Executive, on behalf of the citizens of the county, do hereby proclaim the week of June 3rd through the 7th, 2024, as Child Welfare Professionals Appreciation Week, recognizing the professionals of Northampton County children, youth, and families for their dedicated efforts in protecting children in Northampton County, Pennsylvania, June 3rd through the 7th, 2024. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
All right, next we have, anybody else for courtesy of the floor? No, seeing none. Report on developmental programs.
Hi, my name is Lisa Gaiman. I am the Deputy Administrator for Northampton County Developmental Programs. I'm not sure how many folks here are aware of exactly what we do, so I wanted to tell you a little bit about what we do and then some of the statistics that we have. But I've also brought, just in case you were more interested, we have pamphlets on developmental programs in both English and Spanish. And I did bring a copy of something the state puts out. It's called Everyday Lives. And it's really our driving force of how we support people in the community. So I'll leave these up here, but again, if you guys are interested in having that, please feel free. They're there for you, and you can pass them out to anyone in the community as well. So again, my name is Lisa Gaiman. I work for Developmental Programs. I'm the deputy there. We serve individuals with intellectual disabilities, autism, children with developmental delays, and children with medical complexity. We serve under the Office of Developmental Programs, which is under the umbrella of Human Services. So we support about 1,158 people right now in Northampton County. I have a staff of 6 program specialists and myself, including clerical support staff. Prior to 2017, we only served individuals with intellectual disabilities. So we have expanded quite a bit through the state to support, again, individuals with diagnoses only of autism, children with developmental disabilities, and then also children with medical complexity. So what we do is really our biggest responsibility is to ensure the health and safety of the individuals that we support. We also oversee home and community-based service waivers. So I'm not sure, again, if you're familiar with what those are, but in our service system, and it's explained more in there, but home and community-based service waivers are funding that is through federal and state funds, which allows people to live in their communities and not be institutionalized. So we oversee 3 waivers within Northampton County. The person-family directed support waiver, which is capped right now at $41,000 a year per person. The community living waiver, which is currently capped at $85,000, and the consolidated waiver, which is actually uncapped funding. And those are for our neediest folks in Northampton County. So those are the folks that need residential services, or more intensive kind of habilitation services so that they can remain at home with their families and loved ones. What we do is we identify individuals in need of waiver services. We recertify those individuals in waiver services every single year. We review variances for services. We review individual support plans, which is basically the plan of care for the individual. We do all the intake and referrals for Northampton County. We troubleshoot issues with providers, with families, with individuals. We also troubleshoot issues with funding. So a lot of times what happens is that individuals need to maintain their Medicaid eligibility in order to keep their waivers. Sometimes that they lose that, so we don't want that to happen because then they lose their services. So we work really hard to make sure that everyone's Medicaid eligibility is still intact. We do incident management. We follow and review all incidents that occur for Northampton County individuals. So that could be anything from abuse to neglect. It could be smaller things like issues with, somebody missed a medication or an appointment or something like that. So we do investigate all of those things as well too. We approve them, we disapprove them. We recommend corrective actions for providers in our areas to ensure that, if there is a significant incident that occurs, that it doesn't occur again. So we're always learning from that. We have a human rights committee. So we review what we call restrictive procedure plans. So say someone has a restriction with sharp objects like a knife or something like that, we do all the reviews for individuals who are restricted from those things to ensure that their rights are not being violated. We do provider qualification, which is for all new providers who want to provide services in Northampton County. They have to come through us first, and we have to verify that they meet the requirements set forth by the state. So we do all of that. We re-qualify providers as well. We complete provider risk screenings. So we make sure that providers who are already in our system are doing what they need to do. And if they're not, then we make recommendations for them. We do complex cases for folks as well. We have a lot of complex individuals who have both intellectual disabilities and or autism as well as significant mental illness. So we work with them. And we also have our regional collaborative, which we work in conjunction with Lehigh County to support individuals without funding in both of our counties as well too. I will say that our intakes have increased exponentially. I started tracking the data back in 2016, and now that I'm the deputy, I've continued tracking it. Back in 2016, we only had 98 referrals for the entire year. This year, actually 2023, we had 233 referrals, and every year has been an increase. With the autism population growing, our referrals really significantly increase. So we're on track at this time to outpace 2023. 2024 will probably be somewhere over 250 individuals that have gone through our intake process. Same thing with incident management. As we grow, Our county-run investigations, so providers conduct their own investigations, but we also reserve the right, again, to provide county investigations for any significant incidents, or alternately, there are some that we are required to investigate. 2022 and 23, we conducted about 130 investigations, 137. And in 2023-24, we've conducted 163 investigations, and we're not done with 23-24 yet. So we're anticipating June we'll have more. Provider qualification, again, that's where we have new providers coming into our area. We do all the qualifications for them. We have, in 2023, we had 11 provider attempts for qualification, of which we had qualified 2. This year, in 2024, we have had 5 attempts. 1 was not qualified, 2 are in process, and 2 just started the process. So that's about right for us. And then I just wanted to highlight a couple of things, like I said, that we do. I touched a little bit on the regional collaborative. We've had a lot of really good feedback on that. We do work in conjunction with Lehigh County. It is truly collaborative. We have individuals, families, providers, anyone really in the community can be involved with that. And we've put on a number of webinars. So we've done things on what waivers are, for instance, for families, again, just coming into our system. Things on employment and job supports and really getting people into the community. Activities in the greater Lehigh Valley area. Things on special needs trusts, guardianship. We've done a lot of different webinars for our folks. We also do a county newsletter. So previously, the ARC of Lehigh and Northampton counties did a newsletter. We called it the Bi-County newsletter. They put it out for both counties. The ARC unfortunately stopped doing that. We thought it was a very valuable resource for our folks, and especially our families, to let them know changes in the system or upcoming activities, things like that. So we decided to continue that. We do put it out quarterly. It's about 2 pages. Anyone is welcome to sign up for it. Again, we detail any kind of important information coming out, any kind of important activities, trainings, events in the area. And then lastly, I really wanted to highlight this because I'm sure, as they all know, my favorite part of the year is the Celebration Awards, which really just shows the great things that individuals with developmental disabilities do in their communities every single day. And we are currently looking for another venue because unfortunately our venue is turning into a warehouse. But this year we had 6 recipients in personal achievement, employment, education, exemplary citizenship, transition, and self-advocacy. And some of the things that our individuals did this year, and again, I'm just really proud of them, and it is my favorite day of the year. They graduated from Slippery Rock University. They had dedicated volunteer hours in the community where they did things like Meals on Wheels. They advocated for changes in their living situations, and we have a bunch of people who found and maintained really long-term employment. So best day of the year to be able to celebrate those folks, and I know that Mr. McClure went to the last one that we had, as well as our Deputy Secretary Aarons for the Office of Developmental Programs. So it was a really positive day. But do you guys have any questions for me about what we do, anything I can?
If you don't mind. Sure, thank you, Mr. Brown. Just because I'm new, getting to know the lingo, and I'm wondering, what is a variance for service?
Oh.
What does that actually mean? You mentioned that during the presentation.
So we have standard services within that we support people for. So like residential habilitation, which is what we call community living arrangements, what may be more commonly referred to as group homes. So we also have a big one that we require a variance for. So it's something beyond like the typical scope of a service. So according to our regulations, a really easy one is if you're going to have more than 16 hours of service a day, you need a variance. So we review all of those. And those are, again, really for our neediest folks who need maybe 24 hours of care. So all of those variances have to be reviewed by us and then have to go up to our regional office and get approved. So we have to keep track of all of those too, so.
Gotcha. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you for that. And a couple of other questions too. I'm wondering, how often are you engaged with the homeless community within Northampton County? Because as we know, and as research has been done over the years, majority of homeless population have significant developmental-based disabilities. So I'm wondering, how often do we interact with our homeless population?
I think as best as we can. I think that's something that we've been trying to do more outreach in, because it is difficult sometimes to locate those individuals, get the paperwork that we need, because unfortunately our system is very regulation heavy. So we have a lot of requirements for individuals coming into our system. I know personally right now we're working with one of our individuals who's already in our system who is currently homeless and trying to find him stable housing. So we do.
It's tough to find those individuals too. It's not
It
like
is.
folks are on every street corner saying, hey, I'm homeless here, can I have some assistance? It doesn't work like that.
No. And so for the individual I'm thinking of currently, he actually doesn't want the assistance. So that's part of the barrier as well too, is to, also convince that they, of the stable housing for him, but also to convince him that this is a good thing. And we're not trying to, it's not a jail, it's not you know what I mean? So, yeah, it can be difficult, but we try.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Next, we have an update on Gracedale Union Memorandum of Understanding. Mr. McClure, are you presenting this?
Yes, with Ms. Cavalli and Ms. Wondolowski. Because if you have specific questions, Ms. Cavalli may be able to answer them better than I can. This is a blockbuster deal. It's something that we have been attempting to do for many, many years, and that is increasing our starting salary at Gracedale. And in this deal, we are cutting off the first 3 steps. So the new first step is the old 4th step. So we will take those 3 steps in order to reward and continuing to incentivize our long-term employees and put those 3 steps at the top of the scale. So we will have a new higher starting rate so that we can attract CNAs and LPNs, and we will have 3 new steps at the top, because currently at Gracedale, if you get to the top of the scale, you can't go any higher. You get $1,750. Now you'll be incentivized to continue to work hard, continue to care for your residents at the high level you already do, and progress 3 more steps to the top. For the first time, we will be able to hire for experience at the 5-year and 10-year level. Their seniority will be the same as if they had just started, but we can finally pay them at levels that are commensurate with their 5- and 10-year experience. Now, as you know, we've been trying this for years, and it has been rejected at the bargaining table every time we tried it. You also know that in the Affinity report, this was the only area of weakness Affinity could identify at Gracedale. Can you imagine that? The largest nursing home under one roof, and the one weakness they found was this, and we got that done. And we appreciate council putting it on the agenda for consideration tonight, because the sooner we get this done, the better for everybody.
Really quick. Cutting those first 3 steps, I think at the end of the day, it's likely going to enhance recruiting, correct? Recruiting employees at Gracedale, and also with the daycare. And I don't know if when we would get the next update on the daycare, but it seems that it's going to help our recruiting practices. And I personally, I think that's a good thing. I don't know if you.
Well, that's
also going to
so Mr. Warren, that's the hope. But the challenge of staffing in nursing homes is national. It's not just here in Northampton County. It's everywhere. People do not want to work in long-term care. And so we worked with Tom Tosti at AFSCME and Lynette Osterkamp, AFSCME staff representative at Gracedale, to come up with this, because they understand we're paying way too much for agency staffing. at Gracedale. And that ultimately, over the long term, that's not a sustainable model. So I really do appreciate Mr. Tosti and Mr. Osterkamp for working with us to help us get to yes on something that was intractable. This could not be done. They would never agree to this. But I think they understand that we have to get that agency staffing level down. And I don't know if Mary Lou wants to add to that, or Sue wants to talk about the daycare, if she has any updates about that. Do you have any updates about the daycare?
anything about that?
No, I just was going to say, it was a very important point that, yes, it does increase our starting salary, and that is something that we use in recruitment, and also paying for experience. That is always something that we've not been able to do. So you have somebody who works someplace else, they don't have an incentive to come over to Gracedale if they can't start higher up on the salary, and now we have that.
Thank you.
Did you say this includes all staff, RNs, or is this just?
This is LPNs and CNAs represented by AFSCME Gracedale. We're currently in negotiations with the RNs.
Gotcha. And what union are the RNs with?
Steelworkers.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
Yes,
I
they're
don't wanna say it
steelworkers.
out loud because it sounds crazy.
No, they're steelworkers. They're steelworkers.
The retention bonuses, those still,
They're done. They're
done.
finished, yes. Yep, right, that's correct.
Well, it's still in their contract.
Until the end of this year. And then AFSCME Gracedale expires at the end of this year. So then the retention bonuses will be done.
Mr. McClure, one last question.
Sure.
I don't want to bring this up at council. I feel it'd be better suited for here.
Sure.
Numerically, what are the new starting wages, and then what were the old?
Sure.
And comparatively, what is the new highest step they could obtain, and what was the old?
So I can do, with CNAs, the old starting rate was $14.98 an hour. The new starting rate will be $16.61 an hour. With LPNs, the old starting rate was $21.35 per hour. The new starting rate will be $23.69 per hour. Now, you have to remember, this is a public facility, so obviously we're not going to pay as much as the hospitals pay, for example, but our CNAs and LPNs get what's known as a daily bonus. So if you're a CNA at Gracedale and you come in, on top of that new $16.61 an hour, you get 75 extra cents an hour for walking through the door to start your shift. That's during the week. During the weekend, it's $3.
Is that a new?
No, that's
That's
been
been in place?
Yes, it's been there forever, right, Mr. Brown? And the LPNs, just showing up, you get an extra $1.50 an hour on top of the new $23.69, and that's during the week. And on the weekend, it's $4 an hour on top of the new starting rate. For the shift differential, which I think you've all heard of before, if you work the second shift, you get an extra $1.50 an hour on top of the new rate if you are CNA, and an extra $1 on the third shift. Obviously, that second shift is a sweet spot for coverage difficulties because nobody wants to work that shift. It's the toughest shift because sundowning occurs on that shift, and it's when people's lives really are difficult. LPNs on the second shift, $2.50, their shift differential on top of the new rate, and $2 on the third shift. So we are very, very competitive right now, and for a public home. Okay.
Anybody else? Mr. McClure?
Sure.
So what's happening to the current staff that would have been in step 1, 2, or 3?
They're going to the new first step.
So they're all going to be they're all going to be crunched onto the
New first
new
step.
first step.
Yes, they got a raise.
As a percentage of the affected workforce, how many employees is that accounting for? If we have 500 working in the facility, X number LPN and
Right.
CNAs, how many of them are in this now new first?
Do you have an approximation?
I think there was
You-
43 or 46, I can't remember off the top of my head, are in those first 3 steps that will move to the new step.
Okay.
Also, an important point is, if we have Gracedale staff who have the 5 or the 10-year experience, we are also moving them to those corresponding steps, so that we're not hiring a new employee who has 5 years' experience and putting them above somebody who has 5 years' experience at Gracedale.
For the current, it's a sort of a one-time thing.
One-time move,
Yeah.
yeah. So there are, the majority of the staff of CNAs and LPNs will be moving and receiving a raise. It just varies depending on their
Well,
experience.
that, yeah, so that was my second question, was then how many are at that top end that would then,
Right now, we're analyzing it because it takes a minute because some people may not have started as a CNA. They may have started with the county as a housekeeper and then took the CNA class. So we're analyzing them to figure out how many years they have and make sure that we appropriately put them on the correct step.
Okay.
But the majority of the employees are going to see a raise from this.
then I'll spin back to Mr. McClure on what is the total financial impact of the salary changes as approved by this MOU with, when everyone moves and you're analyzing it, give me a ballpark dollar impact on the
Approximate, can I
operation?
give you an approximation?
Yeah, that's fine.
A few $100,000?
About
A
$200,000.
few, yes, a few $100,000, yep.
And currently, what are we spending for agency nursing at the facility? Well, that's.
The percentage numbers are wildly, yeah, they're,
Okay, I withdraw the question.
yeah, thank you. Well, we can get you that exact answer.
that's
Mr. Gracedale did ask about the new top three steps.
I can give you that.
Yeah, I don't
So-
have that on my.
Previously, for CNAs, I believe the question that you asked is what their highest rate was?
What are the new 3 years?
What the new will be, yes.
Okay, the current top rate is 1907, and it will be 2114. So that added 3 steps. That's for the CNAs, and for LPNs, it's 2717, and it will be 30.12. I don't have my glasses.
And then, this is a little off topic, and, since we're talking CNAs and LPNs, do we have a system to train CNAs who are interested in becoming LPNs? They have that, and do you have
Yeah.
success with that? Do you guys have people that move up through the system, going from one position to the next?
We'll actually pay you to get your LPN
Yeah?
while you're working as a CNA.
good. I think
And that's been a long-standing Northampton County program, and LPN RN as well, yep.
Good.
Yep. Anything else?
Anybody else have any questions?
I'm good.
Thank you, council. Much appreciated.
Anything else for the committee at this point? If not, I'll call for adjournment. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I guess I should know.
I love that.